You're listening to The Endless Party with your hosts,
Megan Elijah Armstrong.
Hello everybody and welcome back to The Endless Party. For those of you who are new, welcome. For those of you who are old, you probably noticed that we have a new set.
And way better chairs.
Way better. Now, what you don't notice is that this is in our living room.
Yeah, no one knows that.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
So, we're big believers in begin with where you are with what you got. This is where we are and this is what we got.
So we hope it works for you.
Absolutely. So, a couple things. This is probably going to be one of my favorite episodes because
I was going to say that, yes.
this is actually the episode on my favorite book. It's called The Spellbinder's Gift by Og Mandino. If you haven't read it, you should read it. It's a good read. But up on the wall, those of you who are listening to it, we have 6 pictures on the wall. And one of them's a picture, and then the other 5 are quotes from our favorite books. Principles to Live By. One's a quote from Christian D. Larson. And all of them are just really...
They're just our favorite principles to live by.
Yeah.
You know, it's just the things we've collected over time that we just really stand for and believe in.
Yeah. Well said.
Thank you.
And one of them actually comes from the Spellbinder's Gifts. He leaves 7 principles at the end of the book to really start your new life. And he calls them assembly instructions for your new life. And we kind of want to go through those today, as well as talk about really how we implement them in our own life, as well as how we would like to implement them in our own life, and just how this book has inspired us.
I was going to ask you before you jump in, I forget, was this the first, book you read that kind of started your journey, or what was it?
No,
how did you find this author? Because this is now your favorite book, favorite author, so I was wondering if, you'd talk about that a little bit.
So I actually got a few books from my uncle as soon as I came home from my church mission. And I was really debating whether or not what I wanted to do with my life. I actually was pre-dental. I wanted to be a dentist like Meg's father. That quickly changed as soon as I hit chemistry. And I was like, I do not want to be a dentist. I don't think it was chemistry that made that happen.
It just wasn't the right fit.
No, it just wasn't for me. And so I actually read, the first book I read of Og Mandino's was called The Return of the Rag Picker. And I was like, this guy has to have other books. And so I started buying all the copies of every book that he has ever written. And the second book I actually read was The Greatest Miracle in the World.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize it took you a while to find this book.
Yeah, and then the third book was The Greatest Salesman in the World.
Oh, my goodness.
And then the fourth book was The Spellbinder's Gift. And when this book came out, when I read this book, I was actually in Oregon at a race when I was running for Boise State, and I finished it right before the race, and I just remember I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to be an author. I want to be a speaker.
Okay, I didn't even know this story.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
This is where it came from. It was this book that made me, inspired me. It took my 4th book before I was like, wow, this is it. This is what I really want to do. And that's how that all came to be. It wasn't until... And I read probably 20 books in between The Return of the Rag Picker and The Spellbinder's Gift.
Okay, so this you searched and you figured out that this was your favorite book.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
It was and then as soon as I had that epiphany, I remember I actually had a dream. This sounds super biblical right now. But I had a dream, and in this dream I came up with so many different principles that I wanted to write, and then stories, and then concepts. And I woke up, it was 2 or 3 a.m., and I wrote everything down, and then that day I went and changed my major to communications.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So you're just decisive, and you're like, this is what I'm going to do.
Is it.
And this really is the book that you feel like changed your life.
Oh yeah, this was the one that I was like, this is the book.
Spellbinder's Gift.
So actually, quick side note, I also received the greatest Christmas present I ever have received from my wife. Was it our first year married?
It was our first year married.
It was our first Christmas married. And on the cover of this book, there's this little bear. And it's this adorable bear, and he's dressed up in a cape with gold trousers or pants. And then he's wearing this beautiful crown. And I searched for this bear everywhere. It didn't exist. They don't sell it. So she bought the perfect bear and then made the outfit and the crown.
Maybe for those watching on YouTube, at the very end of this, we'll go get the bear really quick and show
It's like,
him.
it is literally the greatest Christmas present I've ever received. Like, so thoughtful, so kind. Like, everything about it was just so great. Anyways, so I feel like I've been doing a lot of talking. Do you want to actually introduce the first concept, and we can kind of dive into it?
Before that, I just want to say, I think this is the first book you had me read.
That's actually the first book I bought
in
you.
college, like I was just struggling, just kind of trying to find out who I was, what I wanted to be, and this was actually the first book I read that kind of started my journey into self-help and just good novels. So anyways, I just wanted to add this too. So I think this is actually my copy that you gave to me.
Yeah, this is my copy.
So he actually gave me my own copy. Didn't you start buying? You started buying them for people because people wanted to like read it, and then they never gave it back, right?
Yeah.
So you started buying copies.
My first
for people.
copy I gave away and expected it in return, and nobody gave it back. So I bought like 4 soft copies that I would give out to people because it was my favorite book. So I was like, yeah.
Anyways, all that to be said, there's a beautiful story within this novel that we'll let you read. But at the very end, there's 7 principles to live by and how to change your life. And we actually have them right here. And principle number 1 is to separate yourself from the crowd. And I kind of like to think of this principle as, just recognizing your true identity and choosing to not settle for mediocrity.
Right.
I think in order to separate yourself from the crowd, that's what you have to first start with and choose.
100%. It's actually interesting. Really all of us, I think, have seen people in droves working the 9 to 5. That's why you get stuck in traffic at 5 p.m., right? Because people are coming home from work. And that's why traffic is so bad close to 9 p.m., because people are going to work. And that's the mundane. That's what every single person is doing. And so this book is saying, live out your passions, live out your dreams, become who you were meant to be. And what's actually so unique is that this isn't unique to anybody. Everybody has the potential to be phenomenal. And that's what's so cool about this is success. And that actually comes from one of the principles of the 7 habits. There isn't a finite amount of success out there for people. Anybody can be successful with anything that they put their mind to, but you have to first separate yourself from the crowd and do things that other people aren't willing to do.
Right, and choose to live that, extraordinary lifestyle.
Right.
And choose to break away from the mundane and
choose to look like a fool.
Right. Put yourself out there. Yeah. Separate yourself from the crowd. When I think of the people who have separated themselves from the crowd, usually they have received a lot of backlash, and their start is very unconventional, and they usually received a lot of criticism.
100%.
But now that they've done so, they're like the top dogs.
Yep.
Doing the top things.
Well, you can name a million people, like Michael Jordan, the greatest basketball player of all time, Michael Phelps. Those are just Michaels, and then Michael Jackson. That's 3 Michaels. But then you think of Anthony Robbins, you think of Jim Rohn, you think of Og Mandino, J.K. Rowling.
They separated themselves from the crowd. They did something that no one else was doing.
Yes.
And so that's the first principle, and it's the perfect start to changing your life. You know, you got to separate. So.
Yeah. I think the second one is live each day in a day-tight compartment.
We did a whole podcast on this, I think.
I think we did. I think it was just phrased differently, wasn't it?
I think it was. But we'll just go over it again, yeah.
This is pretty straightforward. It's the same concept of live every day as if it was Christmas, live every day as if it was your last. Don't focus on yesterday, don't focus on tomorrow, right? Just be present today with everything that you are striving to accomplish. tomorrow will take care of itself. And,
yes.
And like the past is in the past. And I think Og Mandino actually says, tomorrow only exists on a fool's calendar.
Really?
Yeah.
I just remember within the book, one of the things I really liked is like yesterday was full of like pit loads and tomorrow's full of heavy loads.
Yes.
Pitfalls.
Yeah.
And then tomorrow's full of heavy loads. And, in Elijah, in our life, I think we've seen like our past is full of failures, pitfalls, shortcomings. And in a lot of like instances, we could have chosen to dwell on those, pitfalls, failures, whatever you want to call them. But this principle helps us to live within the day. And recently in our life, there has been this just interesting experience happening where people are telling us, oh, just wait for this to happen. Just wait for tomorrow to happen. Just wait for this year to happen. Just wait for this, wait for that, because tomorrow's going to be great. Tomorrow this will happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything's going to happen if you just wait, if you just let it happen tomorrow. And that's kind of, and Elijah and I have started
goes
completely
against
disagree.
Everything what we believe for, because actually 7 Habits says be proactive, right?
Yeah.
Like it's pretty cool because as soon as you start to read self-help books, they all overlap.
Start to yeah,
they all become one. Like you'll find repeated principles, which is really cool. But it is interesting because that has happened probably every day.
I mean, it's happened every day for almost a year and a half. We're getting close to a year and a half where people are like, just wait for the future. This is going to happen. And Elijah and I finally made the decision. We're like, no, we're going to make the most of every day.
Right.
Tomorrow doesn't matter. It's what we can do today. Like, And so I think living each day in a day-tight compartment, and like that's where you start to see success.
Right.
Because this podcast was built on all of the todays.
Yes. That's a good, that was good. That was really good.
It was built on the todays,
not
not
good.
yesterdays.
I liked that a lot. Another thing I want to just point out right before we move on to the third principle is our twin girls are a day-to-day thing. Like if we focused on the fact that they're going to be here for 18 years of our life, it would be really hard.
We focused on
I think if any parent thought like, man, I have to do this for 18 years.
And if we focused on how they came into this world and who they were 3 months ago, I think it also would totally change the way we're choosing to raise them.
Absolutely, right? And so it's a day-to-day thing. And I think if all of us strive to do as much as we possibly can, just in the day, we would see incredible results just on that one principle alone. Yeah, I agree. Number 3 is go the extra mile. And I would say you're like phenomenal at this principle. I don't know. I've watched you. That was really nice of you.
I've watched
I don't know
you.
If that's the
I don't know.
case.
I've just like watched you live up to this principle ever since I met you. If somebody asks you to do a task, you not only like accomplish this task, but you do a little extra. Like if my mom asks you to do the dishes, you do the dishes, but then you like go the little extra in the way that she likes. And that just is like something I remember, because I don't know, I just remember. And it's like our families recognize it, in you.
That's actually really nice of you to say. It actually stems from another principle that I try to live by, and you know this, but it's, you say to yourself, I have a servant's heart.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So you're willing to serve. And what that means is that you go the extra effort to serve somebody, right? And so as something as simple as, my dad's like a huge outdoorsy man. He owns a landscaping company and everything else. So if you want to get to his heart, go and serve him outside in his landscaping world, right? But then go the extra mile. And it's the same thing. Like there's little things that I think every single person can do, not only to like serve other people and help, but also just in the things that you're striving to accomplish. For example, the behind the scenes of a podcast is a lot. This part's
the best part.
This part's fun.
We love this part.
Is so awesome. Like we get to just converse and talk with each other for like 20 minutes to 30 minutes.
It's really fun. Creating is fantastic.
Yes.
But nobody sees all the behind the scenes.
No.
Like no one saw the 12 hours that went into this wall, literally. It took us like 4 days to get this up.
And if you've noticed, if you're watching, we're still not finished because is missing an E.
because we have still yet to receive the E that we special ordered. So and we decided to live in today and get this podcast done. So it's the endless party for now, but it will become the endless party.
But that's the whole concept, is just, go the extra mile. Like, we could have waited, but then what's the point?
I think so too. Something that I kind of tell myself is there is so much satisfaction in being thorough. Mm-hmm. In thoroughness, there is satisfaction.
Agreed.
I know there is.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's late at night and I'm just picking up the house or finishing putting things together. And I'm like, why am I even doing this? Does this really even matter? But then I actually remember to go the extra mile and to give your best at every task you're doing. And it does make a difference. I know it does.
Makes a huge difference.
Because if you clean up the little things and go the extra mile in the little things, you're going to go the extra mile in everything you do. Yeah. And that's where you find success. And that's where you separate yourself from the crowd, because you're going extra. You're going the extra mile.
Well, it was actually interesting. When I was a freshman in high school, I met Maurice Green, and Maurice Green used to be the Usain Bolt of the world, but he was the United States. And I think he might have been the first guy to break 10. I can't remember. But he was an Olympian, Olympic champion, world champion, everything. And I went up to him and I said, hey, I want to be an Olympian. Like, what do I have to do to get there? And he actually told me, he goes, it's not the big hard work. He's like, it's the little hard work. And he goes, everybody's going to be doing mileage. Everybody's lifting weights. Everybody's doing all of that. He's like,
so what are you going to do?
Little extra can you do? He's like, you can't go and run an extra 3 hours a day. He's like, you'll be dead. He's like, but you can put in an extra 5 minutes, an extra 10 minutes, an extra 15 minutes. And he's like, it's the little extra that makes the difference. He's like, I didn't win the Olympics by minutes or even seconds. I won it by hundredths of seconds. And he's like, because I was willing to go the extra mile.
That's so cool.
And so that concept, I think, what's so cool about all of these principles is the fact that if you implement one of these principles, you'll see a dramatic change in your life, in every aspect of your life. And that's what's so cool. So if you choose to implement these principles, just start with one and see the results for yourself.
Yeah, I agree.
4 is look for the seed of good in every adversity.
Yes.
And
we've started to live by this one
we
too.
Really
this one has been implemented for sure. I think we used to gripe about adversity way more.
We did. And it actually stems from another book you read, that Carrie Ten Boom.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah, I was going to tell the story. It's called The Hiding Place.
The Hiding Place.
It's by
Beautiful
Corrie
book.
Ten Boom.
It's a true story.
Such a good book.
Yeah, go ahead. You can tell the story.
Okay, so within this book, these 2 women are in a concentration camp, and the conditions are horrible. But they choose to have faith in Christ and pray every day.
And not only pray, but express gratitude every day.
Okay, yes, this is where I was gonna get to. So anyways, these 2 women, they're sisters, and they're praying in this concentration camp, and they're just at rock bottom. It's freezing cold. The barracks that they're in are just disgusting, and there's fleas everywhere. And so their names are Corrie and Betsy, the sisters, and one night Betsy was praying, and she was expressing her gratitude for the fleas. She was expressing her gratitude for the living conditions that they were living in, and quite frankly, there was nothing to be thankful about. They were at rock bottom, the pits of despair, the worst of the worst.
This is garbage. Why
and Corey's why on earth are you praying for the fleas? Why are you thankful for the fleas? Well, a couple days later, these women are getting away with holding a Bible study within their barracks. And of course, within the concentration camps, that is completely not allowed to have groups of gatherings. And there's hundreds to thousands of women in these barracks, so cramped. And they can't figure out why they're getting away with it. And what they realized is because of the fleas, all of the officers and the people in charge of their group of people wouldn't go in because it was so filthy. And so then Corrie comes back full circle and she goes, and I was supposed to be thankful for the fleas. Betsy was absolutely right. I should have been thankful for that. Because of that, we were able to hold this study and to just impact and brighten the days of all of these women.
Yeah.
And so Elijah and I have started to thank God for our adversity and for our struggle.
For everything.
Especially
I think a lot of you understand our previous year. We've done a lot of things, but we're grateful that certain things haven't come to pass. We're grateful that our babies cried all day. We're grateful. And like, it's interesting to see.
And it's not even sarcastic. We genuinely are trying to express gratitude really for what has been going on.
It's cool to see the results because of it. You know, then it's like our babies all of a sudden sleep through the entire night.
Because they cried, they've been able to take better naps. Because of this has happened. And what's so fascinating...
That's just one example.
This is just an example, but I think this goes to another principle that you and I were living by. A couple months ago, we were wondering if God really cared about all the little things in our life.
Yeah.
And we were like, does he really care?
This was Meg's idea, not mine, and she's a goat.
We were like... You know, does he really care about all the little things we're doing every day? Does it really matter? And this kind of came full circle once we had the twins and also like this idea of gratitude. And I'm like, absolutely. Because a lot of our friends and even us were like, there's no way he's actually like
in the minor details
and cares about all the little things we do. But that's, in my opinion, that's completely false.
I agree.
I know that he is completely aware of and a part of every detail of our life, great or small. He's there, and I know it. And the reason being too is because once we had our girls, I'm so invested in every detail of their life. I want them to be warm, I want them to be safe, I want them to be happy, I want them to be comfortable. And all of these, you know, feelings of happiness come from all of these little details in their life that I'm trying to like put together for them. So I'm like, if that's how I feel about my babies, there's no way that our like God, our Father, like isn't aware of our details. He's in every single detail. And so he's in it, whether it's good or bad, he's in it. And I know his hand's in our life.
Yeah, and that's pretty awesome. Just to even think about, I mean, for example, did your dad ever make you do hard things?
All the time.
Do you look back and are you now grateful?
I'm so thankful.
Right. It's no different. Right?
He's the same way.
It's the same way, except on a grander scale. Like, your dad is an incredible human being.
Yes.
You know?
Yes, he is.
And I look at it, and I look at how good of a father he is, and I'm like, he doesn't even hold the candle to God.
I know, but he's so good.
But he's so good.
So I'm like, so our Father up there.
So if your dad is that good, how much better is our Father in heaven?
I can't even imagine.
You know?
And how aware is he of everything we do?
Oh, I
agree.
Big,
small, bad, good. Everything's because of him. I know it.
Yeah. So look for the seed of good in every adversity.
And try being thankful. Just try it. See what happens.
And
it feels silly at first.
It does feel silly at first. We actually would pray for it, and then all of a sudden we'd laugh because we'd be like, yeah, okay.
But now it's actually become very genuine.
It has been, for sure. Number five is never neglect the little things. And what are the little things? Well, those can vary from person to person, but the little things are the things that are necessary for you to live to your fullest potential, to be 100% of the time, right? And so for us, that's making sure that we take time to learn and grow each day, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, right? But it's also the little things like, especially now as a parent, I've seen making sure that you take time to make your daughter smile. Yeah. You know, making sure that you and I take time to just be with each other. And the days that we don't do that are the days that there's like a disconnect from either our children or from each other. And what's interesting is like, you wouldn't think that because these girls aren't even 3 months old yet.
Well, it matters.
It matters, and it matters to them. Like, there's sometimes that they'll cry, and it's just, I need a good cuddle cry.
Yeah.
And what's cool is, like, babies know that.
They do.
Like, kids know that.
I know.
And somewhere along the way, adults just forget it. And so that's, like, such a big concept to me now, especially now that we've had these kids. So I'm like, man, I got to make sure that I, like, really take time for them, for you, for myself, for just everybody that I deeply care about in my life.
Something I've tried to be better about, and it is a little thing, it's such an easy thing to say I love you to the people you love every day.
I agree.
And some days at the end of the day,
it's right?
such a little thing, but if you do that every single day, what does that show to the people you love? But it's also such an easy thing to forget, sadly enough. And so every day, by the end of the day, I'm like, did I even tell my husband and my kids that I loved them?
Yeah.
You know, and so every day that's something I always try to do. I love you.
It's interesting. So my family they are so deeply devoted to each other. Like, it's one of those things. It's like, we can call each other names, but if somebody else calls us names, we will kill you.
Yes.
Right? But my family's not a I love you family. Like, they are not. My mom is. My mom's great at saying I love you. For years and years and years, my dad just, like, never said it.
I didn't know that.
It was actually interesting, and it was like, I think I was in, like, 4th or 5th grade. So I kept saying I love you to my mom every night because she would read to us. So it's just easy, like, oh, night, Mom, love you. And then I realized, I was like, I never say that to my dad. So I just waltzed into his room. I was like, hey, good night, love you. And he's like, good night, love you. Like, it was, like, thrown off. And then I started doing it just every night. And then he started to find me every night.
And told you that he loved you.
Yeah, he would say,
that's
hey,
so
good
cute.
Night, love you. Yeah. And it was interesting because he started to do it to the family.
Oh, that's so cute.
And it was pretty cool. And, like, obviously as a 4th or 5th grader, I was like,
I'm just doing my thing.
I didn't think about it until like years later that I was like, that's a pretty big deal.
This is a big deal.
But it just goes back to that, never neglect the little things. Make sure that you take time to do the things that are most important. The things that are easy to do, but easier not to do.
Yes, I love that quote.
Yeah.
Right, number 6. This is never hide behind busy work. Okay, I'm going to be real. All of these principles have been things that you and I have been talking about recently. Have you noticed? Yeah. This is kind of like, you want to know what we're talking about lately? We're actually talking about these lately.
This is what we talk about lately.
Never hide behind busy work. We love this one because in our society,
you can get a lot done without doing a lot.
And busyness is equated to success.
Yeah, which is garbage.
But that's just not it. What Elijah and I value is proactivity.
Yes.
And productivity. So proactivity and productivity, not busyness.
Right. And it's actually interesting. So, for example, I remember I was first starting to set up another business that I just started back in November or whenever it was. And it took me, 3 years to actually start?
Yeah.
And I was just doing nonsense. Things that just didn't matter. It's like, oh, I need this done. Oh, I need this done. Oh, I need... And really, it's like, no, you don't. You don't need any of this done. And thank heavens for my wife, because she was the one that was like, let's do this. Like, come on. Like, let's get going. This is what you need to do. And she did it in a very lovely
I didn't do it like that.
She didn't do it like that.
I don't even think I did anything at all.
No, you helped me just, like, get going. And what's interesting is, like, I could have started this 3 years ago.
I know, right?
But, I mean, a lot of different things. But it was because I don't know what it was, that I was afraid. That's the biggest thing is most people hide behind busy work because they're afraid of the success that they might see.
Right. So. And I think something that's interesting, too, that I've noticed is if you look at Elijah and I, like, our lifestyle, we're not busy.
No.
But we're incredibly productive.
Yeah. And
we work incredibly hard every day, but we don't have this helter-skelter busyness that we're fighting.
No.
And it's kind of helped us to live a way more peaceful and way
so
better, a really
better.
nice lifestyle. But don't get me wrong, like, we're putting in, like, 16-hour days, 18-hour days.
Easily.
We don't we
not
go to bed.
Not including the babies.
Yeah, not including the babies. Like, we put so much time into all of this stuff, but it's not that we're busy. We're not busy. We're just very productive in what we do, and everything we do has a purpose and a reason behind it. And we've kind of, like, figured out the things in our life that make us busy, and we've actually kind of
just
picked them out and, like, taken them out of the equation.
Yeah, absolutely. So never hide behind busy work, and you know what that is for yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Like, there's things out there that's like, am I just doing this to avoid doing the actual work?
Yes.
We've all seen those people. We've all had them in group projects. Like,
oh, yeah. Yes, we have.
So never hide behind busy work. The last principle is never allow anyone to rain on your parade. I'm going to be honest. People are going to poop on you your entire life.
All the time, every day, all day. Honestly, especially the people who are closest to you. Especially the people. So, don't be the person who is pooping. If you're pooping on someone who's really close to you, just stop. Yeah. It's rude.
I
clearly, it doesn't bother me at all.
Yes. So don't.
Stop criticizing
Don't do
others.
that. But to get back to the principle, you have within yourself the power to be offended or not to be offended. You can choose to be offended.
Yeah, you can.
Right? You can choose to like really allow somebody to rain on your parade, cramp your style, really, well, to be frank, poop on your dreams. Or you can disregard their negative comments, bounce it off.
Put your umbrella on and just waltz down the parade. I don't know.
Like I don't even know the song, but it's like it might be gray clouds, but all I see is blue skies.
Yeah.
Right? Like see blue skies. Every single person, with the exception of maybe one or two people, are going to strive to keep you down in any way, shape, or form, because when somebody doesn't have something to do, they want to do nothing with you. Okay?
That's
like,
so
it's
true.
so commonplace. Like, if somebody's being really lazy, they want to make sure everybody's lazy around them because they don't want to face the fact that they're the ones that are lazy. So don't allow people to rain on your parade. You know, break out. And this actually kind of goes back to the beginning principle of separate yourself from the crowd.
Yeah.
You have to do that. And in order to do that, you can't allow people to rain on your parade or determine your emotions. Go ahead, you're fine.
So something that kind of goes along with this, it's like, well, how do you not allow people to rain on your parade?
Yeah,
you
actually.
know? And so there's this line in one of our favorite poems. It's called Promise Yourself, and it goes, this is how you do it. You give so much time to the improvement of yourself that you have no time to criticize others or take other people's criticism.
Right.
And that's
There's
what
also
Elijah and I
another one, too, that says, promise yourself to be too large for worry, too noble for anger, and too strong for fear, and too happy to permit the presence of trouble. Right? So make the promises to yourself to never allow anybody to rain on your parade. But go ahead. Was there anything else you wanted to add?
That was it.
That was it.
Those were all 7 principles of Elijah's favorite book.
Yeah,
the Spellbinder's Gift.
It's a good read.
You should all give it a read.
Unfortunately, we don't have any affiliate links, so we can't make money off of this.
But if we did,
you know.
Just put in the promo code Megan Elijah to get 20% off.
Not yet. That's not a thing yet. But it will be. So thank you all for listening. Thank you all for watching. I think that's it. Yeah.
I think that's it for today.
Leave any comments. We'd love to hear from you.
Choose one of these principles to live by and tell us how it goes.
Yeah,
See
absolutely.
what happens to your life.
Okay. Well, until next time, everybody. See ya.
Peace out.
You've been listening to The Endless Party. Please feel free to join us over at our website, theendlessparty.com, for more of our content. Also, we would love to hear from you. Leave some comments and let us know what you're interested in us talking about.
Seriously, like, subscribe, leave a 5-star rating, whatever it is the platform says to do, so that we can keep partying together.